I'm going to take this. Okay. Cross by the perm, do the counterplan. We're not going for this. We're not going for this argument. It's just a test competition. We shouldn't be held to our language. They say the CP is euphemistic, leading back into our arguments. That's not true because our card specifically define the difference between using the word "we" as an advocacy statement and using the word "you" and "I." This is not just a euphemism when it's based in the literature. Additionally, okay. We shouldn't be held to our advocacies just as much as they shouldn't be either. Go to the cutoff content. I postulate the true immortality can only be found in space-based exploration is the only goal worth striving for. Over the hills and far away, you will know your enemies by those who will block your path. Vampires, monopolistic will keep you in time like their cabins. Good that cows don't fly. They say with an evil chuckle, the evil intelligent slave gods, the gullible, confused, stupid foes, and equal threat owing to the obstructed potential vast numbers. I have an interesting soul in my scrapbook news clippings from the bowl of camera pictures. An old woman that's had falsities by a smile. She is speaking for women's Christian temperance. We oppose child abuse and temperance and immortality. We are the stuff dreams are made on. The affirmative, while postulating itself outside the debate community, only subscribe to that very same debate community. The 1NC is just the same piece of normative discourse. They try to criticize and assume the plan that some action will motivate people to change, but that is not the rule. Isn't it convenient that the only way to change, they say, is through a currency of wins and losses? They are not a genuine critique, but rather a slick way to get bids and go to the TOC. There's a few important link arguments they didn't respond to. First, extend that resistance is not saying no to things. Their form of resistance doesn't actually do anything. It only plays back into the system and turns people into passive subjects. This is kind of like the argument we're making on the intellectuals. Okay, this is like Che Guevara when people buy T-shirts of him and don't really know who he is, and that destroys the revolutionary potential of capitalism. Their movement gets solidified by the capitalist system. And additionally, they don't respond to the argument that the debate community is constantly changing. There is no status quo. They can't essentialize all parts of the debate community and say it's all that we should better work through the system and create infinite possibilities through the cutoff. Extend our 1NC piece of evidence. This is the Lindbergh evidence, which indicates that, or actually that's not the right piece of evidence. That's the Murphy evidence, which indicates that the cutoffs alone only shows us where we have to jumble up their words in order to create new possibilities for resisting the capitalist order. That unright stack notions of what truth is, perpetuated by the same people they posit are perpetuating status quo norms in the debate community, writing fiction and art onto the and slapping onto what the debate community currently is allows for more possibilities. Okay, yeah, let's go into the line by line. First of all, group all of our arguments here. This is a counterplan. It's not a simple Marx critique. We saw most of their politician co-optation arguments that they're talking about because we are not working outside this. We're not working outside the system. Rather, we're changing it in the same way they are, but only in a different way. 2AC1 says we don't solve. We are the opposite of the us versus them dichotomy that they're trying to say. We're saying we need to open up different possibilities. We critique the notion of us versus them in the 1NC cross-slide the argument that attacking only one part, a small part of capitalism dooms resistance. This is exactly what they're doing. They're saying we need to make small changes in order to change the debate community as a whole. That's we're the best for that. We make new possibilities. Yeah. Okay, QAC2, we can't solve the intellectual movement because we don't know what the project is. Our argument is that the CPA is a fundamental prerequisite to knowing the act. We critique the notion of the action-thinking binary because they are inextricably tied. You can't do something without knowing what it is in the first place, which is what they do. In the first place. And I have some cards. The affirmative is a fundamental misreading of politics and the reproduction of social relations. There is no such thing as by a political state that seeks to manage and control populations for the sake of power. The state and capital move hand in glove. One cannot exist without the other. Only total distance of the modern state can allow for total destruction of capital. Otherwise, what is pushed out door only comes back through the window. Ms. Arlson, 95. The modern state of its comprehensive political command structure of capitalism, both necessary and prerequisite for the transformation of capitalist fragmented units violent system, and the overall this full articulation and maintenance of the latter political system in the fundamental sense of the state must be understood as an integral part of capitalist economy self-worthy. Modern state itself is quite inconceivable without capitalism. Out of all foundation, this makes preferable reproductive structures of capitalism necessary condition for the original constitution, but also continues to modulate the intervention of the political family is to make it limited impact because of the realization of socialist practice without remaining fully Marxian concern of whether the state and the optimist understands resistance or pervasive decline of paternal law means that over transition no longer challenges hegemony, but it solidifies the global capital because it's commodified and placed back in a surplus enjoyment that feeds support of this system. Zizek no one. Late capitalism is no longer the order sustained by some body prohibition, which calls for transgression itself is solicited. Even the ultimate act of exercise of state power can't be turned into a gadget that provides obscene flesh production, creates a need for consumption. The excess capitalist consumption always functions as a reaction to the fundamental lack of liberation of objects, generates a surplus enjoyment which fills a lack of choice. And although the objects never provide the thing itself, they are nonetheless experiencing surplus enjoyment. Additionally, they say capitalism is inevitable without the plan. That was answered above, and in the overview, they say public space are key. Or actually, group their fifth and sixth arguments. These both are. We are accessing the public spaces in a better way. They are passing themselves outside of the debate community by standing on the pedestal and telling us what to do. We are working within the system and allowing change to come throughout us. We are in the public space. I don't get that argument. Okay, and then they say perm. First, it doesn't solve. We did something completely different than the plan. It's mutually exclusive with that plan. You can't combine together because it's impossible to cut up the text and read it the right way at the same, or the way they think it's the right way at the same time. Second, it links in a benefit. The app still uses the capitalist system, which guarantees cooptation. This is a question of link. Third, perms are only one. Perms. I was making this argument in cross-sex. Perms are the most militarized form of things. You must answer it even if it doesn't make sense. It's the same form of shit cannon argumentation that they're criticizing. She just went back to a flow to make more perms, so we had to respond to them. That's probably not the best way to debate. They're only using this to gain wins. Additionally, she said Gibson Graham. First of all, they link to Gibson Graham because they create a single form of resistance and don't against the system as a whole. They link just as much as we do. Additionally, their theory is based on unfounded fear of essentialism rather than reality. They suggest we can just wish capitalism away. Epstein and 98. The question becomes she writes away to wish as much as to be redefined touchdowns as rendered or it's unremarkable, invisibly visible. Capitalist production that should be given in one. 7 economic crisis among many, not a pictorial part of the helpless subordination, not capitalist forms of self-employment economy. But as some kind of policies and other human forms that this economy is economies only the capitalist and society. Diverse economic practice and which power is shaped by the entire weekend. Challenge capitalism and seems to have reason to make it hold sway over society, keeps where power to political economy and broad circumvented the anti-essentials requires it not that it makes reality more intelligible. Additionally, and resistance from within is cooperative capitalism, hard and agree to pay. This is also an explanation of capitalism. Actually, scratch that. I was going to say one more thing. I forgot what it was. Alright, that's fine.
Okay. First, what would Burroughs think about your we pick?
What would he think about it?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know him personally.
Okay, but in the context of your critique, what would Burroughs think about your we pick?
I'm not really sure what he would think.
Why?
Because, I don't know. Like, our cut-up pick just says that we should...
Your we pick was an attempt to solve the affirmative, wasn't it? Do the exact same thing, just get rid of a few words?
Sure.
Okay, what would Burroughs think about that?
Like I said, I don't know. These are
okay,
separate
do you know what
advocacies.
Burroughs will think about our affirmative?
He doesn't like it.
Okay, why would he like the we pick then? If it
Why
tries to
would he
accomplish
like the we pick?
Yeah.
Okay, he wouldn't like the we pick.
Okay, that's
conditional
fine.
advocacies.
They're conditional advocacies. You say at the beginning of your 2NC, we're not a genuine critique. You have a bunch of conditional advocacies that you've admitted contradicted. Why are you a more genuine critique than our affirmative?
First of all, it's not directly a contradiction. Just because we present two arguments does not mean those arguments
You
are
just said that
directly
Burroughs wouldn't like your we pick.
No. He wouldn't, sure, he wouldn't support it, but it's not a direct contradiction to our argument. Your arguments based on the 1AC are like reading hedge good and hedge bad is a bad form of debate. We can critique you from multiple perspectives. That's a good form of debate that I think you would agree with. And
I mean,
Just because Burris doesn't exactly
my confusion is you
support
talk about,
the
you talk a lot
type of-
about using instrumental strategies to secure the ballot. Why is the 1NC, despite the fact that you read 2 critiques, why is that not the same type of instrumentalism that you are criticizing?
Why is what not the same?
Your 1NC, which presents contradictory positions.
Because, as I said, well, first of all, this argument was made in the 2AC. We can have different, no, your argument was that we can have, we shouldn't be able to move from different arguments.
I want your explanation of what we do.
Yes, if we can present conditional advocacies, we can, even though they're not directly even though
All right, that's
they
fine. You talk about
conflate with
the
each
decline
other,
of
they're not
internal
directly
law being
contradictory.
bad. Why does the counterplan not link to getting rid of internal law? If you said that your counterplan does actually scratch that. What about your critique is public space?
What about it is
Yeah.
public space? What are you saying?
You make a bunch of arguments about how you access the public space better. What about your critique is open to the public space?
Yeah, because, I mean, we're discussing it right now, right?
So
In the
just-
same way that
so
your app
accessing-
is saying we need to go
So
inside the
accessing the
debate
public
community
space is
debate.
only a factor of talking about it. You have no other internal link to this argument.
That's what a public space is. These people are all here voluntarily. We're discussing this issue.
Why
That's
does that
what I
not close
define
off
as
the public
public.
space?
Maybe we're not seeing eye to eye on that issue.
Okay, what
but
about the affirmative closes off public space?
closes all public
Yeah.
space? We say that your idea of public space is wrong
What about it?
because you present a singular form of what debate norms should be, right? So you need to have an advocacy statement, you need to have cards, stuff like that.
Okay.